Okay, we'll start with the main event. Rolling in the back. All right.
Does he need 5?
No, he said we're rolling.
5 seconds, he said. He said hold it.
Oh, hold it. Wait. Oh, yes, please. Yes, we're good.
He said we're not.
Live. All right, welcome everyone to the new year. I'll call this Destin City Council meeting January 6th to order. And up first is going to be the invocation by Pastor Steve Ferris, First Baptist Church of Destin. I needed my sticky note for that. I don't know why I read them.
Well, Father, we just thank you again for your goodness and grace, and Lord, all the work that these people do, and Lord, the plans you have for this city and town as it continues to grow. Lord, we're especially grateful for all the people that work here, and especially in the school system, and so many people coming and going, and Lord, it's not an easy task keeping everything up and running. So Lord, I want to pray for all the employees, not just this council, but we're grateful for them as well, but for everybody involved here. And Lord, you tell us sometimes that we make our plans, but you guide our steps, and we pray that always be the case. And Lord, I just pray your blessings on this meeting tonight, and we thank you for the opportunity in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, thank you for that. Councilwoman Abel with the pledge.
Please join me with your heart over your hand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for being here. All right, with that, I will accept the approval of the agenda or any
Mayor,
changes?
I have something.
Yes.
We need to add the Holiday Decoration Awards under the proclamations and announcements.
All right, so I have the holiday. Thank you. Anything else? All right, seeing none, I'll accept a motion with that amendment.
I move that we accept the agenda with the amendment.
All right,
I'll second it.
seconded. All right, I'll take the vote.
That's how they let you know they're fired.
There we go. There we go. All right, I have it so moved.
User error. User error.
All right, I'm coming on. All right, so all right, now that's an Andy issue. All right, we're just gonna push through it.
It's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be terrible.
You may just.
All right, we're just gonna. Teresa wants the people's vote next year for holiday contest. Yes.
Test.
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 All right, we're good now. All right, proclamations, public comments. If anyone from the public wishes to speak on anything outside the public hearings, this is your first of 2 times to do so. Is there anyone from my left, y'all's right, who would wish to speak tonight? Center? No one? All right, we'll close public comments and continue on to the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, I have a motion by
Second.
Councilwoman Hebert, seconded by Councilmember Schmidt. And seeing no further discussions, we will call the vote. Ayes have it, unanimously so moved. City Manager's report. Larry Jones, take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Good to be with you this evening, and Happy New Year. Excited about good things that's going to happen this year. I'm pleased to introduce to the council and to the public tonight Miss Kelly Horton. Kelly Beth, as she's known to many of us, and you will hear her referred to that, is our lobbyist that you graciously allowed us to bring on board. She's going to just introduce herself and her firm and kind of give you a briefing of what's going on, what we can expect, and answer any questions you may have. So, Ms. Kelly.
Just push that gray button. You can, yep, there you go. Floor is
Got it.
yours.
Okay, great. All right, well, I appreciate you all having me tonight, and I've enjoyed chatting with all of you before the meeting, and look forward to the opportunity to represent you all in Tallahassee. It's a great honor. I'm a 4th-generation Floridian from the Panhandle. I like to tell people, Jim Bagby knows this, I'm purebred white trash from the Panhandle. Thank you for welcoming me to Destin. I grew up in Defuniak Springs, Florida, but live in Tallahassee currently. My residence is in Tallahassee, but still maintain a home in Walton County, so spend tons of time over here. I'm personally invested in the community and just super excited about representing the city of Destin. You know, there's just so much change in Tallahassee, and I'm glad that you all have decided to hire representation, because I think during this time of great change, it's important to have a man on the ground, you know, to have eyes and ears looking out for you. I feel like city of Destin kind of gets left behind as a city of its size. You're not a huge city like Miami or Palm Beach or some of the other bigger cities. You're not a small city that gets taken care of in rural grants and that kind of thing. You're just kind of mid-size, and I feel like there's just not a great space for mid-size counties and cities in Tallahassee. So thank you for bringing us on board, and looking forward to representing you and keeping up with all the change that's happening. As you know, the Trump administration has picked people from right and left in Tallahassee, all around the state, the Panhandle. You've lost a congressman here. There's another congressman that went in the Space Coast. That creates a domino effect. U.S. Senate race is vacant right now, or the U.S. Senate seat is vacant. It just creates a giant domino effect. So currently you have CD1 vacant, that's Representative Gates' seat, which created a vacancy in House District 6, which is Dr. Rudman's seat. And so that's open, and so that's going to be filled. You've got term limits that create change. You've got 28 new House members this time. And so that's 28 brand new faces that you're gonna have to educate. A lot of them, you're gonna have to tell them where the Panhandle is, because unfortunately, a lot of people don't even really acknowledge the Panhandle or know what we are or what we do up here. And so we got 28 new House members. We got 9 new Senate members, which is a lot for a small body like the Senate. You know, the Republicans are very strong in Tallahassee and Florida now. We had 2 members that switched parties over the holidays. We had Representative Valdez from Tampa, she switched from Democrat to Republican, and then we had Representative Cassell from the Boca Raton area who switched parties. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of leadership shifting, just a lot of things going on. I mentioned the U.S. Senate vacancy that Marco Rubio vacated. The governor's going to be making an appointment probably in the next couple weeks, I would say, in that, and that's going to create a domino effect because there's rumors of people that he may appoint, which will create other vacancies, which other people will be vying for. So, I mean, it's probably going to keep going for a couple more months, I would say. You've got a vacancy coming in Jimmy Petronis in the CFO's office. So there's going to be a new person appointed to that by the governor. That's a gubernatorial appointment. And so you're going to see a new face in that office, which could be a legislator, which will probably, again, create yet another vacancy. So it'll be an interesting time because there's going to be changes, there's going to be a lot of vacancies, and so some people aren't going to have a lot of representation at all. But that leads me to the next part of my presentation is your delegation. I mean, we really do have a good delegation in the Panhandle. We've got some real superstars that are coming. We've got some superstars that are there. We have Senator Jay Trumbull, and I don't know if all of you have met Jay Trumbull, but he is fantastic. He takes good care of the Panhandle. He's a native of Bay County, and he really cares about the Panhandle, and he really takes good care of us. So we work very well with Senator Trumbull. He's the incoming Senate president in 2029, and as you all know, like the closer you get to that seat, the more powerful you become, and so he's going to have a lot of influence on policy and money. So you've got a good few years coming with Jay Trumbull as your representative or your state senator over there. You got Pat Maney, Representative Maney. There's no man who's more well thought of in Tallahassee. He really is. He could win a contest. I think if you ask people who they like the most, he definitely is very well respected. He is a hard worker, a huge advocate for the Panhandle. I know that he helped you all last year get an appropriation, which is fantastic. I know he will help again. Pat is just, he's great people. We have Senator Gates, who I know a lot of you know. Councilwoman knows him well, worked for him. Yeah, we have both worked for him. We shared stories. But Senator Gates, there's no one who is smarter and knows the process better than he does. He will be a huge advocate for you all. I'm looking forward to working with him. And then you've got the House District 6 vacancy right now, but I don't think that's going to be done in a meaningful time for you all to get representation there. I think it's going to take them a minute to fill that seat, so that's probably going to remain vacant for the lion's share of session. We've got neighbors too in the Panhandle who are very helpful to us. We have Representative Alex Andrade. I don't know if anyone, I know Councilman Bagby knows him, but Alex is a huge friend of the Panhandle. He's very powerful in the budget process, and so he's going to be one that we will lean on to get help. We have Representative Shane Abbott from Defuniak Springs. I don't know if you all have met Shane. He's lovely, and he is very active in the transportation world. So Shane will be very helpful to us too. And then there are other members, you know, from Panama City, Gulf County, you know, Pensacola. They're all the neighbors. We all stick together in the Panhandle, which is so nice. And there's definitely a tight-knit group. We're small, but we're mighty. You know, we're outnumbered in the day delegation by, you know, I feel like it's 300 to 1, but it's not that bad, but it seems daunting at times. It's pretty close. You're right. We will work closely with the Florida League of Cities. I know Rebecca O'Hara very well. I've known Rebecca for years. She's a great person, and you all always won't follow their lead because sometimes they are more advocates for the bigger cities, and you all might differ in policies, which is another reason why it's good to have representation. But they're very easy to work with. I really like the league and the people that they have over there. They're great friends. We work well with the Okaloosa County lobbyists team. We know the advocacy group folks very well. And so we'll work well as needed with them, or we'll fight them if we need to, but hopefully we won't be fighting them. I don't think so. But they're very nice people, and we do have relationships there too if needed. You know, I know that there'll be tons of issues that'll pop up. It's hard to predict what's going to happen during session, but I know that you're concerned about property taxes, affordable housing, you know, vacation rentals, any kind of regulatory issue that's going to affect you. Impact fees, I know that's a big one. So we'll be tracking those as well, and you know can jump in if needed. And if you all see something else that you see that interests you that I may not think about that has an effect on you, please pick up the phone and call me. I'm available anytime. My joke is if you call Heffley and Associates, you get Heffley or the associate, because there's only 2 of us. So you got a 50-50 shot of getting one or the other. So, yeah, so that's, so please, keep in contact. I work for all of you. I know the big issue for you all is appropriations, because everybody always needs money, and I know that we've got some good folks in Tallahassee well-positioned for that. And I know that you've already presented to the delegation. I believe you did at the end of December. You got your Crosstown Connector and then the Mattie Kelly project. So those are 2 really good, solid projects, and hopefully we can move those down the line. And then I was talking to Councilman Bagby about the money they got last year to try to figure out how to build on that. Because there's other sources of money besides the legislative process, which we also need to be looking at the same time we look at the appropriations process. And we'll work after the fact, after session is over, the governor gets time to decide what he wants to veto and what he doesn't. And those are tough times sometimes, but we'll work with the governor's office and make sure that they know we're here and that we're worthy projects, and to keep those in the budget. So that will go on after session. Session will end in May, but we'll continue to work until the veto process is completed. We work with agencies all the time to problem solve. If you all have a problem with one of the agencies like DOT, DEP, the governor's office, we have relationships in I'd say in all the departments that we can call on to say, hey, look, City of Destin's having this problem. How can we fix it? I've already spoken to Larry about a couple things that you all are working on that maybe we can assist you on. So just know that we provide those services too. I tell people, people think sometimes lobbyists only work during the legislative session, but that's not true. We work all year round. Issues come up in the executive branch all the time. So we're there for those needs too. Finally, I just wanted to share with you the session dates. We've got committee meetings that start next Monday, and those committee meetings will carry on until the February 20th. And then they'll take a little break, and then they'll start session on March 4th. And so they'll start on March 4th for a 60-day session, and they'll go until May 2nd. And, things will start happening very fast. That's the nice thing about state government, is things happen fast. In federal government, it takes years. It's a bit slower, right? And so we move very quickly in Tallahassee, so you'll kind of know what's happening towards the end of April, early May. So that's the start date is March 4th, and the end date is May 2nd, we hope. Sometimes they extend, but the last couple of years they've been pretty good about staying on time. The appropriation form deadline is February 14th. Just I'll give you a couple of deadlines to think about, while you're planning. That's February 14th. I've already sent Larry the forms to fill out for our appropriations. And we'll get those turned in a timely manner and get our sponsors lined up. And bill drafts are due January 24th. If you have a piece of legislation that you want changes to the law that you want, you have to have those in bill drafting by January 24th. And then the filing date of the first day of session, which is March 4th. But so I just wanted to give you guys kind of a flavor of that. And then my final thought is next year, I know it's too soon to talk about 26, but next year, the legislative session will start in January. So every other year, they have an early session. So to me, right now is the start of a very long session, because we'll kind of be going at it even over the summer, because in the fall, they'll start right back with committee meetings, and then you'll be going through committee meetings in the fall, and then you'll be going right into session in January, and you won't be done until March. And so this compressed time frame is like one giant session. So again, important for representation, important for planning. And so that's why I share that with you. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have. And again, I really appreciate your confidence and look forward to working with you all in Tallahassee, and encourage you to reach out to your delegation members, because I know they love hearing from you. They see me all the time, but when they hear from you, they do really like that and want the input. So, yeah.
Awesome.
So with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. We
Yeah,
appreciate it. You
for
are
sure.
a wish come true, at least in my book, for getting a lobbyist,
Yeah.
so thank you so much.
Thank you,
Other than
Mayor.
that, Councilwoman Aber?
Thank you, and thank you for being here, Kelly. As we spoke prior to the meeting starting, I look forward to seriously coming to Tallahassee and working with you while you work with some of our legislators to see things work. I'm really happy that we were able to get you to be part of this, process
Thank you.
and help us assess where we can find more monies and have the contacts that you have so that we don't struggle and miss areas that other people get. And
Yeah.
as our CEO of the chamber always says, Destin is a small city with big city problems.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's
right.
truly,
That's true.
it's it in a nutshell. We
Yep.
do get left behind on a lot of things because they don't think about what we do. And, we
Yep.
have a few million people here sometimes of the year, It's
I
just
know,
like,
it's crazy,
so
isn't it?
bad. And then, it's like quiet down.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here. I look
Yeah,
forward to
sure.
working with you, helping
Me
you,
too.
help our city obtain some options and move on with some funds and grants. And again, thank you for being here.
Great, yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much for having
thanks.
me.
Councilman Guile.
Ms. Horton, thank you for being here.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
I do have a project that I'd like to talk to you about.
Okay.
I'd like to bring it up here a little bit, but also I'd like to talk to you after this. So
Okay.
one thing we did mention is we do have some big city problems. One of our bigger problems, in my opinion, is this short-term rental and
Yeah.
trying to gain home rule and possibly changing some of these legislative laws so that we have more home rule for
Mm-hmm.
communities less than 25,000 residents. And out of the 15,000, roughly 14,000, 15,000 residents we have, there's only 3,600 homesteaded homes in this area. So the short-term rental is a huge impact on a community like
Yep.
this. So I would love to have discussions with you about how we can gain more home rule or how we can develop a plea for at least our plight to be heard.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I know a lot of communities struggle with that. I mean, I had a conversation over in Walton County about that. There are some homeowners that are really struggling with that. And most every year, there's a vacation rental bill that is filed, so there will be opportunity, I would say. I don't know that for sure because I don't track that issue as closely. Walton County has never really engaged on that issue. But yeah, I would love to have a conversation with you, and I can follow up with you this week, and we can set a time for a call, and we can, that will give me time to do some research to see what's coming down the pike this year.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure, and I sympathize. I can see, but, the legislature is very big on property rights, and so, they tend to err on the side of the property owner, what they want to do with their property, but it has huge impacts on the community too. I hear you. Yeah.
Councilman Schmidt.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
You made a comment about there's other ways besides appropriations
Mm-hmm.
to get money. Can you expand on what you mean by that?
Yeah, so
For us?
there's grant programs that are available. The governor has quite a few pots of money where they give out money. They give out economic development money. Shane's aware of that silo of money. There's a resiliency money. I was talking to Councilman Bagby about that. Yeah. There's the Northwest Florida Water Management District, who I have a great relationship with. There's monies that could be tapped into there depending on the project. So, yeah, there's other ways to skin the cat for sure. And there's also the legislative budget request process where they can move money around. That's sometimes you can do that if there's a need, like in the off season, or if you see an opportunity where you may be able to fix something there. There's money at DOT that could be had for certain projects if there's problems, or they have resources. So yeah, it just depends on the problem, and then you can kind of look and
Right.
see what's available.
So do we, I don't have it in front of me, but maybe you'll recall, do we have a kind of an open-end deal with you during this first session?
So
Or was
I
it
think-
specifically for
Yeah, it's just for the
appropriations?
session, and it's a 6-month contract, but I do, whatever.
Gotcha.
But as a government affairs consultant, you can't work on a commission, like you can't
Right.
you can't be rewarded for a percentage of whatever you get or whether or not you get it. But yeah, we have a 6-month contract, and just to reevaluate after 6 months.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure,
And
thank
if I
you.
might add there, Councilmember, I think to address, we get in the whole ball of wax,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's with agencies, with representation, so it's not just with the legislature.
Councilman Bagby.
Kelly Beth, thanks for coming. I
thank
look
you.
forward to seeing some of that resiliency money over at Four Prong Lake.
Yeah, I hope so.
But, and that leads me to this point. She will do an amazing job for the community. I've seen her work before, but she can't do it by herself. She's the seed planter. We're the seed waterer, okay? So when the Chamber Day is over at the Capitol during session, or the Realtor Day is over at the Capitol during
FLC.
session, or we want to have a Destin Day over at the Capitol during session, we have to take people. The reason we got the $1 million for Four Prong Lake, other than Pat Maney is a great representative, is because 30 people got in their cars during session and went over there and went and saw him, and went and saw Jay Trumbull, and went and saw the old District 1, Broxton, who was the chair of the appropriations or whatever, or,
That's right.
yeah.
He was
And
the
so
vice chair.
that's how you get money. It's not just because we hired a lobbyist and they, every day or every week, went over and told people in the legislature, hey, you need to help, these people out, my client out. It's because we take people over there and we reinforce, we're here, we're serious, because, and it's easy for us. I mean, if you're in Miami and you want money, not many people, although they hire buses and stuff and bus them up on certain days. So I don't want everybody to think that, oh, now we got a lobbyist, where all this money's going to flow. It's going to flow when we help her help us. Okay?
Thank you.
Great point. All right, thank you again for being here. We
Thank you guys
appreciate
so
it.
much. And Councilman Guile, I'll follow up with Sherry to get on your calendar for a follow-up call on vacation rentals.
I'm not that important. I don't have a calendar. Just give me a
I can just call you. Even better, even better. Yeah, I'll grab your cell phone number from Larry, and I'll give you a call tomorrow.
And if you can push
Okay.
that gray button and just turn it on.
sounds great.
For sure.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Larry.
Thank you, Kelly. Next item is 4B is the FY25 resurfacing projects. This is part of the city's renewal and replacement plan that was approved by the council for during FY24 for this year, 25. You have a list of those streets, and there's a map in your package for a total of 11 projects of just over $1.2 million. So we're certainly recommending you approving that list.
All right, do I hear a motion? All right. All right, Councilwoman Trammell's motioning for the recommendation. All right, thank you.
And I'll second it.
I have a second. Councilman Destin, discussion?
Thank you, Mayor. The list of projects meets my approval. The question is, the money is in the budget for these, or is it dependent on our new fees that we've not yet instituted yet?
This was budgeted in accordance with the renewal and replacement resolution that we passed last summer. And this is using Okaloosa half-penny money, gas tax 1, and a little bit of general fund money.
Yeah, I thought that was the case. I just want to make sure.
All right. Anyone else with discussions? All right, seeing none, I'll call the vote for 4B resurfacing projects of, 1 through 6? Ave? All right, ayes have it, so moved. We are paving and getting these streets fixed.
Red and orange.
All right, Larry.
Thank you. Item 4C is regarding the Morgan Sports Center lighting project. This is one we're not real happy to be bringing back to you, but we found ourselves in a position where we need to. We didn't do a real good job bringing this to you at the last meeting when we asked you to approve Techline sports lighting. And subsequent to that meeting, it was brought to our attention, and we confirmed that Techline is not a state licensed general contractor, which was required in our solicitation documents. And just quite frankly, we didn't catch it, and we're embarrassed that we didn't, but that's where we are. So upon notification, Techline withdrew their proposal, so they are no longer in the mix. So we would need you to acknowledge that withdrawal. And based on the remaining scores, MGA Contractors was the only submitter that was a licensed general contractor, and they were the second highest ranked firm. So in the event that we had caught Techline if we had caught the fact that they were not a licensed contractor as we should have, MGA would have been our recommended proposer to award this contract to. So tonight, we're recommending that we do award the bid to MGA Contractors.
All right, and I have Councilwoman Trammell with the motion, is that correct?
Yes. I move that the city council accept the withdrawal of Techline, adopt the bid committee's recommendation to award MGA Contractors, Inc., and direct staff to negotiate a contract for approval.
I'll second the motion.
All right, I have a second and a motion, or motion and a second. Do I hear any further discussions? All right, seeing none. Oh, there you go, Councilman Schmidt.
How do we know that MGA is Florida licensed general contractor?
We've did our research through the DPBA, Department of Professional Business Regulation, and they do confirm that they are a licensed general contractor.
Okay. And do we still feel that a general contractor license is necessary for this style of a project versus a non-general contractor license?
And that's a subjective call. The criteria was included in this project because typically projects of this size that have construction components from the city has required a licensed general contractor in the event there are more than an electrical contractor that may be needed on the project, which would require a general to pull any other additional permits. But we know an electrical permit will need to be required, which will require an electrical subcontractor, but there may be others from a crane operation or some high-rise contractor that may need to be, that come under that purview. So that's the logic and the reason behind they were included. That criteria was included in the bid process to begin with.
Okay.
All right, Councilman Gile?
Can somebody get me their license number? Because I'm looking on myfloridalicense.com and I don't see MGA.
I believe they're here, and if he could, maybe he could provide it.
All right, just push that gray button, it'll turn red, you don't have to hold it. And let go, yep, there you go.
Thank you, Council. Mike Gay, MGay Constructors, Jacksonville, Florida, 11901 Industry Drive, 32218. If you look under, through the chair, to Councilman Gile, if you look under MGay Constructors, enter the name in there, it'll pull up all of our license numbers from general contractor, electrical contractor, and underground utility, but it's MGay Constructors.
All right, I did miss the constructors part. There it is. I see it, active till 2026. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank y'all.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right,
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, this is a situation we're not proud to present to you because we didn't do a good job. But I can tell you, since this has come to our attention, we have met extensively on the process of how we got here and how we prevent from getting here again. Could I guarantee you that it'll never happen in the future? I wouldn't be that bold, but I can tell you we are implementing processes and procedures that will take as much subjectivity out of reviewing bids as we can and turning them into objective criteria, basically check the box. In this instance, if the box had been checked that either you're a contractor or you're not, and that would have been that clear and very binary, it's yes or no question, we would have done a better job. So I can tell you that moving forward that we've had those discussions and we will put some plans in place to hopefully prevent such from happening in the future.
all right, thank you, Larry, for that leadership. All right, seeing no further questions, I'll call the vote. All right, ayes have it 6-0, it's unanimous. Thank you, guys, and appreciate your guys' help. All right, moving along.
Next item is item 4E, which is regarding the volunteer boards and committee recommendations. I'm sorry?
The planning and consulting.
Oh, do it now. I was ahead of myself. Thank you. 4D is the planning and consultant RFQ that we put out for community development and grants. If you recall that we did a request for qualifications for firms to provide consulting services for community development and grant consulting on very specialized projects where the bandwidth of staff may not be sufficient to accomplish the things that need to be accomplished. From the grant side, probably more than anything, when there is a need to have specialized expertise in filling out grant requests and grant forms and grant applications, that would give us some bandwidth to pull those things off. Through that process, we had 7 submitters. We identified 3 that we would recommend we move forward with, 3 TPT Ventures, Kimley Horn, and Inspire Group. 3 TP Ventures was the highest ranked firm, and we have some experience with them and have been pleased with that, as well as Kimley Horn. And Inspire Group was only 1 point below Kimley Horn in second and third place. So if you'll recall the discussion that led us to this process, the possibility of having more than one firm in our stable was discussed, and we think that's a good place to be. Again, it gives us some a variety of resources to draw from, that some of these bring other expertise that may be particular to the needs we have. But in any instance, whether it's from community development or grants, these will be continuing service agreements. Any expenditures under these agreements will come back to you in the form of a task work order. So this simply gives us the ability to utilize their services, bring those contracts for particular services back to you for your approval in the future. So we would recommend that we utilize 3 TP Ventures, Kimley Horn, and Inspire Group, and allow staff to negotiate contracts for those to bring back for your approval.
All right, thank you. All right, Councilman Bagby?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the city council select the proposals from 3 TP Ventures, Kimley Horn, and Inspire Group, direct staff to negotiate the contracts with those, and bring those contracts back to the council for consideration.
Second.
All right, I got a second from Councilwoman Abear. Councilwoman Trammell?
I read through these today, and I was looking at the Kimley Horn one, and they have a whole section on historical preservation, which is what the harbor needs at this particular point, because we have a historical overlay over there, and there's no special criteria for that. So what's the sense in having one if you don't have any criteria? We definitely need criteria for that historical overlay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Schmidt?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. What specifically about each one are y'all wanting to go for 3 continuing contracts?
I would ask those who did the reviews of them if they have any comments there.
As you know, I mean, and they've been here before, a representative from 3TP Ventures,
Right.
which we have worked with for, and been partners with for many,
time.
many years. So their specialty is planning. So, you know, that's the number one for them. And then, you know, we always have certain projects that needed some assistance that is kind of outside staff's, current staff's, what's the word I want? I can't think of the word I want, but
Expertise?
we need help with, anyway. And then Kimberly Horn, I know she's done many projects with us as well on different things. I'm not as familiar with her. I'm sorry Steve's not here tonight to speak on this rather than me. He is sick. So,
So we got a project we want to do, right? Let's say we got a project on Stallman Avenue or something like that. I think there's one thing that we're going to try to do.
yeah, instead of having
How
to
do
go
y'all
out
decide,
for,
okay, who am I going to call? Kimley, 3TP, or this other one? How do y'all decide that?
based on their expertise. Where Kimberly Horn has a lot of engineering people on her team, so something like that would be, we use her in a project that would involve kind of engineering stuff,
Right.
things like that, yeah.
And then, you know, Miss Horton, is that what it was? Horton, Miss Kelly? And she spoke earlier about their amazing expertise in the grants. So, and we have a 6-month contract with her. Sounds like an open book for the next 6 months. Are we not going to consider her for the grant process?
We would consider her for identifying, but not for the application process. That would be kind of on us. But we would absolutely look for her guidance in that, for instance, a water management district may have a grant, that she could help us guide us to the grant and help us get the parameters set forth to meet the grant. But when it goes to the nuts and bolts of filling out a grant application, that would fall back to us.
Okay. I mean, me personally, it's like too many options. If 3TP has done such a great job over the years, and we want to keep them, let's keep them. If they don't do grants, then let's don't worry about grants, you know? But I don't like going for all 3 of these continuing contracts. I think it's too much. And I think we have Jeff on staff that can do grants. That's what one of his jobs is. We have Ms. Horton for the next 6 months that can work on grants. And it sounds like 3TP can do it as well. So to me, it sounds like we should just choose one personally. I don't see the reason for 3 separate ones, especially if we're going to have staff have to pick out of a hat which one they want to do. I just don't get why having 3 on our roster, or Rolodex, is worth it. It's kind of like, to me, it's disrespectful to them, but maybe they don't find it that way. I feel like they wouldn't want to work with us if they weren't our primary consultant, but maybe I'm wrong. It's just how I feel.
Thank you for that. Councilman Destin.
Yeah, I would point out, when you have 3 or 2, it makes them more responsive, makes them more likely to have a good product. And you have to remember that the staff will bring back to us who they have negotiated with, but if we have 3 already approved, then we get to choose. It's not necessarily just a staff choice. And the bottom line is, these firms are usually pretty busy. And when you say, I need this done next week, some of them may not be able to, but when you have 3, one of them I'm sure will be. So it's just always been advantageous not to just pick one firm and put all your eggs in one basket.
So does that mean you saying that when we have a project, we're sending it out to all 3 to request? Is that what you're saying? Or
No, what I'm saying.
if the first one doesn't have time, we can go to the next one. That's kind of what you.
And as the staff brings it back to us, if we think they've made an incorrect choice on the firm, then we can say, go talk to the other firm. It's strictly still in our wheelhouse, but we have a multiple number of choices rather than just one.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Appreciate it.
All right. I don't see any further discussion, so we do have a motion and a second, and I will call the vote.
There's no cost associated with just
No,
getting on with them?
they're just getting on a list, so we don't have to RFP.
Nice to have a backup, Kevin.
All right, ayes have it. So moved. 6-0. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Council. Let's now move to volunteer boards and committee recommendations. Staff has met with Ms. Trammell on multiple occasions to review a number of things regarding boards and committees. So as you're aware, the LPA and the Board of Adjustments are kind of off the table. They're required by statutes, and so there's not a whole lot we could do there. We had conversations regarding the other boards and committees and determined that their value can come from them if we work hard to make them valuable to the city council and the city. So we're kind of reinvent some of these things, and Ms. Trammell has been very gracious with her time and efforts to help us put some things together. The area of the CRAs, we've got the Harbor CRA and the Town Center CRA. We've kind of laid out 3 options for those, and one is keeping them both as they are. 2 would be combine the 2 in some hybrid method, and 3 would be eliminate them. They're not required by statute. It's at the discretion of the council sitting as the Board of Commissioners for the CRA to decide whether you wish to have that, those advisory committees or not. So we don't really have a recommendation. If you wish to combine them, there were two thoughts. One would be a combined committee that would give three of one, three of the other, and three altogether. Then there was another idea that maybe there's three at large and two from each of the others, or three from each of the others, or some combination that would keep some representation from each of the CRAs, but also have the ability to expand maybe one or the other if that's the way the membership were to line up. I can tell you that we don't have any trouble finding members for the Harbor CRA. We have very much trouble finding members to the Town Center CRA. The Town Center currently has one active member and only two applicants to fill the 7 slots that are there. Another thing to keep in mind is due to the commitments that were made in the procurement of the $25 million loan, the Harbor CRA really doesn't have any money for at least the next 3 years. So, and they've already done their master plan and the things that they needed to get done. So there's really not a lot for them to do. However, it's at your discretion to decide whether you want to keep them, combine them, or do away with them. So we just kind of lay that out there for you if there's any discussion to be had. The rest of them, Ms. Trammell was very gracious again in her time in allowing us to put some thoughts together. Ms. Trammell, do you want to review that, or would you like me to? Yes, ma'am.
That's fine with me. We did meet, and I think one thing that I'd like to talk about the CRAs first and then go into the rest of the. One thing that came to my attention during the CRA discussion was that there were two premises that really were not part of any board or committee in the history of this city. The first premise was brought to mind by staff that they couldn't discuss, these committees could not meet unless staff had something to tell them, to bring to the board, to bring to the committee. Well, these committees were never set up that way. These committees were set up to do what they needed to do and to bring suggestions to council or to bring suggestions to staff to then bring to council. So it was kind of backwards in that regard. And if you look at all the evidence that came up, a lot of it said staff had nothing to present. Staff had nothing to present. Well, as an example, many meetings ago, the mayor said, well, why can't we send this to the CRAs to talk about Christmas lights? Well, the CRAs have power to go out and generate monies and get businesses on board, to get plans drawn and programs designed and these kinds of things for the citizenry to participate in all of that. But yet, we never got to bring it up because for, I don't know, 5 or 6, 7 meetings, it was staff had nothing to bring up. I tried to put it on the agenda, but staff had nothing to bring up. And I was a member of the Harbor CRA Advisory Committee at that time, not council member. But so there was a big disconnect there that was causing some problems. The other thing was that they are capable of going out and looking for grants and looking for funds, and they can actually go to citizenry and say, let's get a committee and let's get this together and let's do something, you know, or whatever is decided. But again, if it's directed by staff and it's not part of, this was another thing that I was told, that now that we have the master plans, those committees could not do anything other than what was in the master plan. Well, that's not right. If they want to talk about Christmas lights, that's not in the master plan. If they want to do something that the citizens of Destin have said, we would like to do better, for lack of a better term, on our Christmas decorations, they can do that. They can get the committees together, they can do things, they can get citizens groups together. And so it was really kind of a juxtaposition. The other thing was, many years ago, about 2 years ago, I guess, when you approve the minutes and you read the minutes and you approve them by not questioning those motions or bringing those up, it is considered an approval. It was approved that these committees didn't meet unless staff had something to present. Council did that. And really, as a council member, we shot ourselves in the foot by doing that. So that's how things were interpreted. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's how things were interpreted. So that's what we came down to the final decision about. I am going to work with the committees again this year, and we're going to do training starting in February if that's what if the standing committees will be. But one of the things we were talking about is giving the committees the opportunity to present people for recruitment on their committees. In other words, the Harbor CRA's broke, right? So what do they need? They need bankers, lawyers, grant writers. They need all kinds of people to help them garner money to do what their projects are, not what the master plan is, not their projects, to better the Harbor CRA. The town center finally has some money. So they have that money they can do to present master plan projects, or they can do something else. They have the ability to do that. And yes, it has to be approved by council. So they can't just go off on a tangent somewhere, but it has to be approved by council. That's what the goals and objectives are. The Parks and Rec Committee right now, and we have Amber here tonight, she's generated the Putt-Palooza. Council's not involved in that. She has her own committee from the Parks and Rec Committee under her that's going to do the Putt-Palooza, that's going to generate funds for the dog park. Why would we ever want to stop that? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So we're looking at empowering the chairs right now, because especially in the town center, to help with going out and identifying these members that we need within the committees and to help us get those. I started going literally door to door to in the town center looking for members, and I had a death in the family and it just stopped. I will continue with that to get more members on that committee. But I need to meet with the chair, and we need to talk about what kinds of things we need done. We need worker bees, and we need knowledgeable people on there that can get things done. So my recommendation tonight is to, option number one is to keep the committees as they are for a minimum of 1 year, and let's try this new approach. Let's see if this is going to work. Let's get our people involved. And my motion is option number one, retain the two committees with their current configuration, having 7 members approved by the council. And that's for the CRAs only at this particular point. The rest of the committees, I would make the recommended motion that we keep those, with the exception of the 2 we've already combined, the Harbor and Waterways Board and the, what's the other one?
Steering committee.
Steering committee, thank you.
Right,
I had
just
to
so
think.
I have this right, just so we can kind of lump everything into one motion, so we don't have 2 objectives under one motion. So is your motion just to keep everything the same other than the Harbor and Waterways and the steering committee?
We've already done that,
We've
so I
already-
don't know
we've
that
already
that
done that,
needs to
okay.
be included in this
Okay.
motion,
All
but
right, so
yes.
your motion is to keep everything as is?
Yes,
For 1 year?
yes.
All right, I have a motion by Councilwoman Trammell for that. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All right. All right, so we're open for discussion. Councilman Bagby?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to break this up into pieces. I support you. I support reinvigorating the committees, and that's one of my objectives this year. But I would say within, what would you say would be a reasonable amount of time? 2 months for you and Lockwood to go out and find a full town center CRA?
Give us till March.
Okay, till March?
Yes.
All right, so the second meeting in March?
Yes.
Okay, so I would ask you to amend your motion that we extend both of those through the second meeting in March, and we'll either have 7 qualified members to be on that town center CRA, or we won't. And my concern is, and we've done this for a long time, but we have historically always had problems with the town center CRA. And having people qualified, you know, that are residents, that are, you know, own a business in the town center CRA that would show up. Part of it was because they never had any money, because we put them in debt before their first meeting. But, you know, there were also, you know, Regions Bank had somebody on there, and of course, they went through all these, actually, I think it was AmSouth when we first stood it up, and then, you know, then Regions bought them out, and then Honey went someplace, you know, and they didn't put another person on. We don't need to go through the whole history, but I'm not sure. I know you and Lockwood will work very hard, but I'm not sure we'll find 7 people that qualify for that board. And so maybe, I hope we will. So I would just ask you to modify your motion to say through the second meeting in March, and then we'll re-engage on this issue. And if we have 7 and we've appointed 7, then, you know, we'll give it a year. And if we don't have 7, then we just, you know, look at another option.
Okay?
Mr. Mayor, may I
Yes.
interject?
Yes, please.
By resolution, the council is allowed to appoint 3 at-large members. So,
Yeah, here's my problem with that, and that happened, part of that happened while I was off, is we did that because we couldn't get 7 qualified members of the original qualification. So we said, oh, well, we'll just let anybody serve on this committee because we couldn't find the people who were truly invested in that town center CRA. That's not what I want to do. I want people that are invested in the harbor and in the town center CRA. Not, you know, well, we got 3 people from Crystal Beach that agreed that they would sit on a committee to oversee the town center CRA. That's not what we need in that, and they're an advisory committee, you know, and now they've got some money, hopefully, that will induce 7, you know, citizens to come forward and help us. That's just me. That's all I'm saying. I'm not a big fan of the at-large, because I believe the at-large doesn't have to meet all the criteria of the town center CRA requirements. That's what I'm against. And we do that when we can't get enough people. We just say, okay, well, we'll let anybody. And then they don't show up because they're not invested in that area, that part of the town.
Go ahead.
To answer your question, I'd like to keep the at-large this year for the simple reason that if we're changing this, which is going to be changed, and those 3 members, maybe we need a grant writer, but that grant writer doesn't live in the CRA or doesn't have a business in the CRA because their business is writing grants, and that's what the committee decided they needed. So those people can come on for the time they need to come on. They can actually go off, and the committee can appoint somebody else when they don't need that person any longer, or if they don't need that expertise any longer. It may be a little harder for us, but if the committee is bringing members back and forth for us, and the reasons they're bringing those members back and forth for us, I think it would be much easier. But this eliminates council having to go out and find people unless they just want to. It eliminates the absenteeism. Now will go through, if there is absenteeism, will go through the city manager for that. And the city manager can call instead of having council call, because that's always, since these committees were formed, been a bone of contention. No council member wants to call and say, oh, you've missed a lot of meetings. Maybe you need to resign. So anyway, that's just what I want to say.
And I'm only one vote. I'm willing to make that concession through the second meeting in March. And if you come back and you got 7 people and 3 of them don't own a business or don't live or don't work in the town center, but they're a grant writer or they're a banker or they're a whatever, I'm willing to support that. But what I don't want to do is say, yeah, we'll continue for another year, and we come back the second meeting in March, and you know, y'all, despite y'all's best efforts, we have 4 people. You know, then we need to think of another way to do it. I mean, if in 2 months we can only come up with 4 people or 5 people, we need to think of a different way. But I'm willing to grandfather in, at least through the second meeting in March, those 3 that don't meet the requirement of the town center CRA-based people.
Yeah. My only 2 cents, so before I call on the next, we might shift topics, because the CRAs were something I was really writing in on. I was coming in tonight thinking let's just get rid of all of them, but I love your approach as far as getting some technicians to help us. Yeah. But with that, so, you know, here's where, you know, you only shifted me half the way, would be if we are getting a grant writer who's willing to donate some of their time because they're invested, perhaps, and maybe even in March when we see this go through, if that's how this goes, is if we have one CRA that has some power hitters on there, that has some think tank to it, perhaps we combine the 2 CRAs now having a very diverse talent pool versus forcing them into a very siloed area. So, I mean, I'm always just going to be advocating on how can we consolidate and collaborate on these, not to get rid of anyone, but how do we just empower them even more? Because I definitely love our committees. I don't want to get rid of any of them that are doing good work, but I think if we consolidate and really bring the talent pool together, we might be able to get more done. So that's just my little food for thought that doesn't really mean too much.
Well, the problem that I found with the consolidation, and this is really, it looks good on paper.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look good when you have the personalities responsible for their particular district.
Yes.
And you're throwing somebody else's district in on top of them.
Mm-hmm.
That will, I don't think we're to the point where we can combine them,
Okay.
to be kind.
Yeah, that's okay. I get it. We're a small town with, everyone's got each other's phone numbers. Councilman Schmidt.
Thanks, sir. Ray, the at-large portion that we were just discussing, the requirement still is you must live in the city of Destin, right?
They all have to be Destin
Right.
residents.
So, just on that, I mean, most of the council up here, before 2 years ago, I think I tried to adjust that to not, for the town center CRA, to not make that a requirement, right? Because if you have a business in the town center CRA that you own, but you live in Kelly Plantation or wherever, I feel like they should be able to be on that town center CRA. I mean, they literally own property in the town center CRA. Council did, no, they can't. You have to live in the city of Destin. Thank you. Nope, you must live in the city of Destin, even to be an at-large member.
By ordinance, everyone has to
We
live
tried
within
to
the city
change
of
that, but there wasn't any support for that, which is okay. Well, back then, I guess it was okay. So, I mean, that's just one thing to reconsider. We tried changing that because that would open, but I think what Mr. Bagby said is he'll consider some of those people maybe by March, and then we could possibly change it then. But I'm going to shift gears a little bit. Maybe that's what the mayor was talking about. He was foreshadowing that.
I saw you
was
coming
about
up
to
next, so I figured I had to
say
shoot my
something here,
shot.
So it's okay. Yeah, I know. So I think everybody knows my thoughts on some of the boards and committees. And Ms. Trammell, thank you for working with staff to start working on these things. I sat on a board for a few years, a couple boards, and then I've been on the council for over 4 years now. So I'm not saying anything to hurt anybody's feelings here, but I will speak my opinion and what I feel like is factual. Over the years, we've discussed about inefficiencies in the boards and committees. We've continued to talk about that. We've made small tweaks here or there, but it seems to not be working. I don't know if that's city manager office. I don't know if that's city staff office. I don't know if that's council, but it hasn't worked, whatever we've been trying to do. So I think it's always been discussed up here by us to be efficient with the staff's time. That's always been a priority and a goal for the council, I believe. And I think we really need to keep that in consideration. But I also think to be respectful to the volunteers that want to volunteer and do the committees, we need to be respectful to them. Volunteering in general, anywhere and everywhere, is a massive decline. I mean, volunteering to be recreational coaches is down. I think city staff members actually coach recreational teams because they don't have enough coaches in some leagues. PTO committees, we don't even have people to do the crossing guard, as we've heard. Just people they don't want to volunteer for one reason or another. So, it sucks, it sucks, but that's just where the world is right now, I guess. So, my thoughts and consideration here is we get rid of the Town Center and Harbor CRA Advisory Board. We get rid of that one. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to fulfill the Town Center for a long time. The Harbor CRA doesn't have any money right now. It's just not really needed, unfortunately. Mr. Bagby, I'll support that. If we want to give it 2 more months, sure, but still it's tough. And then I truly think we need to look at, we haven't even talked about it, but I would say we get rid of the Parks and Recreation, the Public Works, and the Harbor Waterways, and we combine all 3 of those into a Community Service Advisory Board, for example. And that board would have requirements where you have 2 members with interest and expertise in park and recreation, 2 members with expertise, knowledge in public works and safety, 2 members with connections to the harbor and the waterways, and then 1 at-large member who can provide a broader perspective. City staff would then prioritize agenda items, so that way if there's nothing needed to be presented by Parks and Recreation that night, then Parks and Recreation doesn't have to attend. Sure, to Ms. Trammell, to your point, if a member wanted to still speak on something that night, well then A, they should either put it on the agenda ahead of time, or B, if Parks and Rec's not there, then it would just have to be continued until a future meeting, probably. That, to me, would take 3 boards and lower it into 1, and potentially still have the overall goal of having a community board providing advisory to us and the community. The Pup Palooza sounds amazing. That could continue to happen. I personally don't think you have to have that advisory board to have that, but that could still happen. And everything else. And I think that would kind of be a happy medium to still have boards, because there's part of me that thinks that we don't even need any of those boards at all. If people really wanted to give input or advice, they could come here and they can call us and do things, but this allows us to maybe keep it. So my substitute motion is to give the March deadline for the Town Center CRA, and then to remove the 3 boards and combine them into a Community Service Advisory Board.
All right, I have a substitute motion by Councilman Schmidt. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All right, I have a second by Councilman Guile, and I'll continue the discussions. Councilman Trammell, you want to reply, or do you want me to go through everyone else first? You're up next.
I was just going to say I didn't agree.
Okay.
That's okay.
Short and sweet. All right, Councilman Destin. We'll
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to observe that these committees have one job. That's to make recommendations to the council. The 2 CRAs, believe it or not, do take a pretty good load off of us, because they do have meetings and make recommendations. Otherwise, we're going to have to deal with all that. As far as combining them, that would be extremely difficult since they're different sections of town. I don't even know how we could do that realistically. I will continue to support Mrs. Trammell's motion, because that gives her time to try to recruit for the town center. But there are some other considerations here. If we're going to have at-large members or recommendations, I would point out to you, each council members puts their own choices on these boards. It appears to me that we're trying to work toward the fact that that doesn't happen. And I wondered who was going to volunteer not to have their person appointed. If I have no problem listening to the chairman's recommendations, they would make them to us, and hopefully one of us would take their recommendations and appoint them. But I'm not willing to give up the authority and the ability of council people to put folks on these committees, because that's what we do.
Just so I understand, what's the hesitation on combining the CRAs from the logistical standpoint, or what's the fear, or what am I not seeing?
Well, they're different land areas.
Yeah.
The harbor is the harbor, and the town center is the town center, so as, I'm not sure if it was Jim or someone alluded to the fact that you're gonna put people that don't really have the dog in the fight on these, in a combined, are you gonna give 3 from the harbor people who actually care about what happens to the harbor, have businesses or own property, and 3 from the town center, and then 1 guy that doesn't represent anybody? It's just not a concept that works. And in fact, the reason we model the CRA advisories after what the law requires us to do is because the law requires us to have certain representation. Now, so to put 2 that have completely different goals, one is broke, one has money.
Yeah.
One is concerned with the harbor, one is concerned with Main Street. You just mixing apples and oranges there, it won't work. And the other point I would make is, while the harbor CRA doesn't have money now, that's a choice that this council makes, sitting as the CRA. We can put some more money back in their budget anytime we determine that that's the thing to do. So, or they can somehow raise some money, but, you know, we've just borrowed a large amount of money, and we have plans to put a whole bunch of it back into buying the property at the foot of the bridge. Well, maybe we don't put quite so much back in there, and we put a small amount back in the harbor CRA, and now they have a budget. So not only that, the harbor CRA is very well represented. We've never really had a problem with the harbor CRA. The town center has so many things ahead of them that they need to do. They need to recommend that we make a bunch of changes in that area. It's kind of just stagnating because we haven't had the people that will step in there and make those recommendations. But I think Sandy and whoever helps her may be able to go recruit people. And if they'll recruit enthusiastic people, I will be happy to make one of them my nomination. But, you know, combining these committees that are functioning quite well, like public safety and the recreational, who have had people who have been on board and who have done a good job, that's just smacking them upside the head, in my opinion. They've done a good job, so we're gonna eliminate you?
Yeah. Yeah, my only, so the harbor CRA is more than just the harbor. I mean, it's Mountain Drive. I mean, it's just as north of Destin as the CRA.
It is a specific geographic area.
For sure. And the only reason, my perspective of combining the two is, I think one of the issues in Destin is they're a community redevelopment agency. And I think one of the issues in Destin is we're not walkable, we're not just connected. And I think having them separated just isolates them into their own issues versus trying to reach across. And how do we make Destin more interconnected if there's 2 commercial hubs we're trying to redevelop? My only thought on that was we're isolating community redevelopment when I feel like community development needs to be a little bit more together in synergy. I think some of the issues are that we draw these lines where we look east, we look west, and we don't look at each other. And so that was where my perspective of that was coming from.
And I understand that perspective. However, state law really doesn't allow us to do that unless we form a citywide CRA. When we formed the CRAs, they had to meet certain criteria within their limits. They had to be blighted. There was a whole list that we had to show that met in each particular one.
Okay.
And so unless we had a citywide CRA, you can't really do that. I don't think state law would even really allow that when it comes down to it.
Okay. All right, sorry for the sidecar. Jim, Councilman Bagby.
Thanks, Mayor. And I appreciate you putting in till March, but I probably won't support the motion. I came up, and I respect that, you know, your view on the committees. I just have a different view based on my experience, came up through the committees. I couldn't get a slot on one of the premier committees, so I started out on the old tree board with 6 very, very elderly ladies who were trying to make Destin a tree city, and we accomplished that, you know? And
Not a tall order.
Yeah. A couple
One
of
tree a
things.
year.
Yeah, a couple of points, though, that I would say, you know, on the volunteerism, I actually agree with you wholeheartedly on that. Now, I think part of that is probably related to COVID. You know, I use, again, a personal example. Both my daughters were in the junior league, one in Charleston and one in New York City prior to COVID. Then COVID hit, and people stopped meeting, and then one of them moved and went to school, and then the other one moved. but now they're re-engaging. So the older one has just moved to DC, and I think she's going to join the junior league there. And so people are coming back. I think people want to help. I think the people in this town are very giving of their time, their money, and their efforts. And so I think we just need to reach out to them and give them a viable avenue to participate and to volunteer. You know, I look at the last election and we had, I don't know, 7 people for 4 seats or 4.5 seats or whatever. So, you know, whereas the previous election, we had 3 seats and 3 people, you know? So it was, in the mayor's race, we had 2, or we wouldn't even have had a race. So I think people are coming back. The other issue I want to just touch on is, I've heard several times, well, the Harbor CRA doesn't have any money. Yes, the Harbor CRA has as much money as they need. You know why? Because they are part of the city of Destin. And if the Harbor CRA Advisory Committee comes to the CRA, us, and says, hey, there's this opportunity to build a boardwalk under the bridge or work with the state when they redo the bridge to do some great things there, then we can say, as Mr. Destin eloquently pointed out, oh, well, let's go find $200,000 to help fund that idea. It may not be CRA money, but there's a lot of things that we do and a lot of things we've done in the harbor and the town center. You know, I look at the nice long walkway that we're going to do. That wasn't town center CRA money, but part of that walkway is going to be in the town center. We found the money to do that. So I don't ever want to tell our committees, you don't have any money. Yeah, there may not be any money in the budget, but that doesn't mean you stop coming up with ideas or initiatives to help us with the dog park or help us with the harbor or help us with the town center, because that's our job, is to go find that money. So, you know, and hopefully, if your motion doesn't pass and Ms. Trammell comes back, she'll make sure that she changes it to include till the second meeting in March, but that's all I have.
All right, Councilwoman Hebert.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not going to pontificate. Jim pretty much said exactly what I was thinking and was going to say. I've had too many people call me wanting to be on these boards. If you look at the list, every single one of these boards, there are people that want to be a part of it. People are ready to re-engage and be actively involved. They know we care. They know we're working to do better for our city. And I feel like it's in our best interest at this point the work that Sandy spent 2 full days trying to organize this and get with the folks that are on these boards and find out what was going on and why things weren't happening. I say we at least give it another couple of months till March and let these folks that have applied, appoint them, and let these committees continue to do the best they can and bring us information without us having to do everything on our own. If we disband some of these boards, it's back on us, like Mr. Destin said. They save us a lot of time. Like Mr. Bagby said, they're part of our city. They want to be a part. They want to help us. So I agree with Ms. Trammell at this point that we need to give this a little bit of time and put these folks on the board that have volunteered and that are waiting for us to appoint them.
Councilwoman Trammell.
Mayor, I'd like to thank you for what you brought up. Personally, I learned about community development and CRA development and all of that through workshops in Central Florida for CRAs and how to develop communities. And I think it's one of the things that all the committees need to put on their agenda and get an expert in here to do some training for us. I totally agree. You know, we're not 2 separate entities. We do need to combine the entities, but when you're talking about a group of people or anybody, even this body, when you give us 10 things to do in one night, we get off on tangents. If you gave us one thing to do, we get it done, get out of here and go home. So it works better if you have a concentrated effort in 2 areas. The other thing I wanted you to notice, and I will add, by the way, to the end of March, second meeting in March, to the,
We have another motion on the floor.
so, but anyway, those members that have signed up, because we're combining two the Harbor CRA and the what was it? The water, yeah. Anyway, a lot of the Harbor CRA applicants are boat captains for whatever boat. And I don't have a problem with boat captains, but the Harbor CRA is only about the land. So we need to get some people that are on the land as part of that committee, that have businesses on the land, as well as those that are in the harbor. So I just want you to look at those applicants carefully if that goes that way. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Schmidt? Yep, absolutely.
No, you're next in line, sir, please.
Yeah, he wants to wrap it up,
Oh, you
being the
wanna
motion
wrap it?
Mason. Yeah. All right, Councilman Gao?
Bring it home, you know?
I got you. I'll let you bring it home. Ray, you mentioned that the only requirement to be in any of the CRAs is citizen of Destin, right? Just a resident of Destin. It doesn't matter if they live in the area or not. In the CRA area, correct?
Everyone has to be a Destin resident. As far as the CRA, the 3 at-large only have to be Destin resident. The other 4 have to meet, be a Destin resident, and has to meet one of the other 4 criteria, one of which is to be, to live within the district, that's automatic, or own a business, property owner, or work within the district.
Okay, so the town center CRA does not have to live in the area or have a business in the area? They do? Okay, because I'm looking and the only...
4 of them have to meet the other 4, one of the other 4 requirements.
Gotcha.
And the 3 only have to be Destin resident.
Because I'm looking at town center CRA and I only see one applicant. He doesn't live, and according to his application, it doesn't show that he has a job out there. So it looks like we don't even have a single applicant that's viable for the town center CRA. Right? What?
Park, linear
Well,
trail,
according to this, it says Palms. He lives in the Palms. Is that not the Palm, right over here?
that's right there.
Yeah, so the CRA, the town center CRA stops at Airport Road.
So, yeah,
Yeah, so that's not in the Palms. The Palms doesn't fall within that.
you're correct.
Yeah, so he doesn't live there, according to his application, doesn't work there?
He can be one of the
Well,
at-large.
now, I have a problem with his moral integrity anyway, so, I
Well-
mean, now I have I have absolutely 0 applicants that I can
Mr.
consider
Guile?
for that area.
So,
Mr. Guile,
All right.
Yes.
Lockwood Burnett is the lone member right now, and Destin Water Users is in the town center.
I'm just looking at the applicants that you provided to us. The other applicants, not the ones that are on.
Mike Jones and Corleen Ziegler.
Oh, I only saw the one, the Jones.
No, I provided you a new list with both names,
Okay.
Mike Jones and Corleen
I'm
Ziegler.
sorry, I'm looking at the thing. Okay, so there's only the one I saw, and he's not, doesn't live there, doesn't work there according to his application. And there's what, 3 people that have to assign? 4, there's 4 people that have to sign a town center CRA? So we don't have enough applicants for that anyway.
But under the resolution, right now, unless you change it, they can qualify as at-large members.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that. All right, thank you.
All right, bring it on home.
No, it's fine, and I understand that it might not pass, but I just want to at least bring up a few things, what some people are saying. All the people that have applied, Ms. Hebert, I don't disagree with you. There's a lot of people that were on our list. 80% of them are Harbor CRA or Harbor Waterways, right? And that's because we had the livery situation, the yacht situation, and everything else. So that's the majority of these people that applied are wanting to be on there because of what's going on right now. And he's shaking his head because he probably agrees with me. Besides that, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 applications for Park and Rec and 4 for Public Works. So there's not a lot of people lined up knocking on the door. And if they're calling you, why don't you send them my number? Because I don't believe that. Not that they're calling you, but that there's a lot of people, because there's not, unfortunately, applying. Look at, and I'm not getting rid of it. I was proposing to combine. So, slap in the face, because we're gonna go from 7 to 2, so you're saying we're gonna slap 5 in the face? I mean, I don't think that's how some of them would feel, especially if they're struggling. Out of 10 meetings a year, they're only meeting 7 or 8 times. They've kind of proven that some of them don't even want to go to the meetings. So, one of the biggest items for Park and Recs, money-wise, was the playground. From my understanding, y'all didn't take part in designing or choosing options for the new playground at Morgan Sports Center. It was given to you, right?
We chose options.
Here's the final option.
No, we chose options.
You had multiple options presented and you built the playground?
No, we chose elements, I'll put it that way. We chose elements of what we wanted in the park. We didn't design it because none of us are designers.
Yeah, it's just a $1
We
million project.
did have input into
You
the-
think that committee would have had a bigger part in that part, to be honest. So, again, I'm not recommending getting rid of things. Public Works and Safety, I love Jim Wood, but I think he mentioned the other night, he agrees we need to do some things. This council agreed in October and November to consolidate the boards. And I guess we can change our mind on that, that's fine, but your motion right now, previously on the table, doesn't do any of that. It doesn't do any of that,
We
besides
already
the
consolidated
Harbor
two.
Waterway and CRA one. So we're not doing what I thought some of us wanted to do. And it's okay if we change our mind, but we're setting ourselves up, for my opinion, for a recipe for disaster if we have staff that doesn't truly want to do some of these. They might not say that publicly, it's their job, but when you don't have leaders, people that want to lead these committees and do it, it's going to continue to fail. And in my opinion, they've been a failure in the many recent years. Look at the work plans. A lot of them are copied and pasted year after year in recent years. I don't know why that is, but it is. So it's not working. So my proposal is to help staff consolidate and also still have them. So that's just my last comment there, and I'll let it go.
All right, I had some thoughts. I was about to make reference to Johnny King and say I could see this both ways. The only thing I learned today in my briefing that I thought, to Kevin's point on this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, it takes about 11 staff hours per committee meeting to create, do, and then implement on the back end, whatever that may mean. And I think the reason we keep pointing to Public Works and Safety is because we allocate them $50,000 a year, and they have a little bit, just like we have a contingency fund, they have a little bit of autonomy to do some projects that they can get behind, they feel some ownership in, and they do. So my plea as we go forward, and it looks like we're going to be going the other direction into March, my only plea is whatever we keep, we can fund if they need funds or do something to empower them in some way to make these things relevant. But with that, I will call the vote for the substitute motion by Councilman Schmidt and Guile. All right, fails 4-2. And so the motion on the floor is there, and I'm assuming we want to make a change to the main motion?
Yes, we'll put it to,
Second week of, second
Want me to
meeting in
read?
March?
second meeting in March. Yes.
Would you like me to read the whole
Please,
thing?
yeah, just so we have it on the record.
Motion is to extend the two committees, that's the two CRAs, in their current configuration, having 7 members appointed by the council until the second meeting in March.
All right, and with that, we have beaten this to death. We will call the vote. Ray's got to switch it out. All right, we got a motion and a second. Here we go. All right, ayes have it, 4-2. Shocking.
So the rest of the committees are staying the same?
So everything's staying the same?
Except for the ones we combined.
Yeah, so we did nothing. Awesome. Put that in the notes. There you go.
I
There's
do
my
have a
quote.
question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So you mentioned that there's a disconnect on the staff and the committees and the, you know, what they have to have a meeting, and then at the end, the mayor brought up that it takes 11 staff hours, which I kind of found shocking because, again, 20-something years ago, the committee chairs did the agendas, you know, and all the staff did was they were responsible for the minutes. And then they also did some research. I mean, I wrote the tree ordinance. It wasn't Ken Galander. It was like, that's why you have volunteers to do that. So, but to your point, do you need a motion to direct that the committees meet, even if the staff doesn't have anything to present to them, or I can't remember the other issue that you
Yes,
said?
I think they need to start, I plan to train in February, which is putting a crunch on the March thing, but anyway, I'll get there. I plan to train in February. I trained last year. The committee chairs are the ones that are responsible for the agenda. Now, due to sunshine, you can't call the committee chair and say, put this on the agenda. You have to call city staff. So that has to be because of the sunshine. Other than that, the chair runs the meeting, and the committee is responsible for doing the work, not staff. Somehow staff got involved and thought they were responsible for doing the work. When the CRAs were first started, we had a CRA staff person that did nothing but that. So we enabled them for like, what, 10 years or something, that staff did it. So that change has to happen. And that's the crux of all of this.
Okay, but my question is, does that require direction from the council, in your opinion, as our legislative
Yes.
sponsor? Does it require direction from the council to say, no, you'll meet every month?
Yes, I think we do need a motion that says the committees will meet every month, and the staff is not responsible for items on the agenda necessarily. They can add items, but they're not responsible for items on the agenda. They don't direct the committee. Yeah, I just did.
All right.
I moved.
Got a motion and a
That's a
second?
motion.
Just for clarity on that, please?
Yeah, please.
Because,
What?
I think what you said is that if staff doesn't have anything, they're going to meet regardless. I think that's what you said, right?
Yes.
Well, I think we should require that chair or whoever put something on that agenda, or they're not going to meet. Because then, if you all show up, and everybody looks at each other and says, well, I don't have anything tonight, that's horrible. That's just disrespectful. So if you're gonna require them to meet without staff having an item, we should require the committee to give staff an item if they want to meet.
Well, yes, they have to have an agenda, but the agenda has to come from the committee, not necessarily from staff. Staff can add to that,
Sure.
obviously.
Right. What I'm saying is that if staff doesn't have anything for the April meeting, then the committee, before the April meeting, needs to tell staff they want to have something at the April meeting in order to have that meeting.
Yes. That's correct.
Okay. As long
That's
as,
correct. And
if nobody sends anything to staff, there's no April meeting.
well, once we train in February and March, depending on how I can get to all those committees during their meeting time, they're going to be writing their goals and objectives. They're going to have things that they have to get done between now and whenever they decide. So yes, they are going to have those things to bring up, and those are going to, and new things if they need to add to it. But I think my experience has been when you lead like that, we've turned around the Parks and Rec Committee. We've turned it around. We've now got people on there that want to work. We've got people on there that want to get things accomplished. We've got people on there that are willing to volunteer their time to get things done. It's not just a committee where you go and listen to staff talk about something. So,
When's the last time the Parks and Recreation Committee has discussed recreation within the city of Destin? Leagues, the makeup, scheduling, timelines, and all that.
when was that? March
Say
or
that again?
April? We've been working on the lights, and we've been working on our parks.
But the recreation aspect of it.
I'm trying to remember, we brought up the coaching and the,
Yes,
I don't know,
springtime.
probably, maybe, not quite a year ago, April, May, right before spring baseball. When was that? When does spring baseball start?
Officially around March. opening
March,
day.
yeah, it's about that time. Because we were talking about coaches and that kind of thing.
Ms. Trammell, Lisa's back here trying as hard as she can to say the word
Okay, Lisa.
spring.
Oh, okay, spring, yes, spring.
Okay. Let's keep this rolling. Councilman
All right.
Destin, do you have anything further? I do. All right.
Just for clarification, this motion does not apply to our state mandated boards, LPA and Board of Adjustment, because they are staff-driven, correct?
Yes, they are.
Okay, and the other question is, or the other observation is, that the chairs can set their agendas, and they meet once a month, is that what they usually do now?
Yes.
Okay, so once a month, chairman's gonna have to come up and say, yeah, we have something we want to discuss. Or if the staff has something they want them to discuss, either way, they'll have their meeting in an agenda, correct?
All right, yep. Larry?
If I may, for clarity, it's going to be important for us from staff to know whether it's going to be our responsibility to determine if there's going to be a quorum present, or whether that's going to be a chairman responsibility, or a chairperson, excuse me. So we would certainly,
It's probably going to have to be staff so that there's not a sunshine law violation. So the chair won't be
Okay.
able to talk to the committee?
well, so, I mean, that's another factor in whether you're going to have a meeting or not, is whether there's going to be a quorum present.
Yes.
So that may be, before we worry about an agenda, we may need to know we're going to have a meeting with a quorum where something can occur.
All right, Councilwoman Trammell?
I was just going to say, one of the things we did learn last year was through the Harbor CRA Advisory Committee, because we weren't getting responses to emails or phone calls, we texted the members of the staff, texted members of the committee. They answered within 30 minutes. So I think sometimes the way we communicate may need to change, and that's based on committees, you know, that's, but anyway, just a heads up on that one.
All right, we'll call the vote on the floor. All right, Ray, can you rate the motion, please?
For its committee to meet every month and for the committee to build the agenda, responsible for building the agenda.
All right, ayes have it, unanimously, so moved. All right, Larry. We are back
Next
to the
consideration
letters.
is whether do you want to make appointments to those boards and committees tonight? If you
Yeah, do we
don't,
have any-
most of them don't have
All right,
a
so,
committee to meet.
Yep.
So,
and with that, me, Larry, and Kim have talked about this. To make this easier, we can wrap this all up, and I'm just going to ask for the negative versus the affirmative. I believe that's how we were doing it.
Going to ask if anybody objects.
Objects, yep. So versus going around all the time, if we want to nominate everyone, and I'll ask if anyone has objections. If we do, we'll go one-to-one. If we don't, we'll just move them all together. That way we don't have to circulate 5, 6 times. Does that make sense? All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
there are a lot more applicants than vacancy. We only need 5
And-
members for Harbor and Waterways Board.
Yeah, and every.
We have 2
council
current
member-
members, so we only need 5,
Yep,
but we have 11 applicants.
and every council member can only elect
Every
one.
council member can nominate one
So I'm going
person.
to ask them for their nomination.
And
if
then
we
you can
all
ask
agree-
for a negative or positive, whatever.
Yes, yep. Anyone, I assume so. Councilman Destin?
Now, the
We,
the only thing I'd point out is if someone wishes to vote no against a particular nominee, that would be impossible on your current scenario.
Exactly, that was my little asterisk. If that seems to never have been the case so far, so we were going to try this.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I will not be nominating or voting for anyone
All right,
for a
so-
yes until we have a more clear picture on what the status and the future of these committees are going to be presented to
Well, I
us.
appreciate you saying that and really just putting a hole in my plan for efficiency. All right, one at a time. Who wants to nominate first? Whatever you want to nominate
Let's
first.
just go,
Yep.
well, the
What
Board of
board's what?
Adjustment's done, the Harbor and Waterways Board is done, right?
Yeah, what board? I don't have the,
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
can we go down the list?
Yes, sir.
Tell us,
For the Harbor and Waterways Board,
Just trying to get home.
Councilmember Aber,
I'm going to renominate Bill McKissick. He's reapplied, so my representative from the last 4 years will continue to be my representative.
All right, I have a motion by Councilwoman Aber for Bill McKissick. Do I hear a second?
second.
Got a second? Okay, we're going to go down roll call vote to keep this going. Councilwoman Trammell, can you start us off, please? With
Yes,
it? Yes, all right. Yes by Councilman Destin. Yes from Council Trammell. All right. Aber, Guile.
Yes.
No.
All right. Ayes have it, 4.
we're missing one.
Bill. Bagby's gone.
Bagby said yes on everybody.
Yeah, man. I can't vote for him. Yeah.
He said yes.
All right. Oh, I get to call the marshal to escort him back for his voting duty.
In cuffs.
Hopefully he'll be back momentarily.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Kim, can we go without him as an absentee? If we have a quorum?
No objections.
He said he had no objection before he walked out, so.
All right, as long as that's illegal. I'm not going to vote for him. All right, we have unanimous, or not unanimous vote. We have a 4-1 vote. All right, anyone else for that board?
Yes. Go ahead.
Go ahead. What are we on?
We're on.
Harbor and Waterways.
Mr. Destin,
What do you want to do?
Yes, sir, I look like I have a vacancy, and I will nominate Jared Hayden.
All right, I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Councilman Schmidt, start us off, please.
No.
Yes.
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 Councilman Destin?
Yes?
Yes.
All right, ayes have it. 5-1. All right,
Ms. Trammell,
Yes, I will nominate John Stevens.
I'll second.
all right, a motion and a second. Councilwoman Trammell, please start us off.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely yes.
Sorry, John, no.
All right, 4-1. Ayes have it.
Mr. Brader's not here, so
He's in protest.
we have the Harbor CRA.
All right.
Councilmember Smith? No?
Sure.
Councilmember Aber?
I'll nominate James Green.
All right, I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll give it a second.
We got a second. Councilwoman Trammell?
Yes.
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 No.
Mr. Destin?
Yes, sir. I'm looking at the list. James Howard?
Oh, that's mine.
Oh, you did that one already, sorry.
No, that's the one I'm going to nominate. That's Jay Howard.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
you have John Stevens,
I-
but that's okay.
Someone else needs to nominate John, most likely.
Well, then do
He's a-
Lance.
He's a tenant of mine.
What's that? Do Lance.
nominate Jay, she can nominate John.
I'll do Lance.
All right, I have a nomination for Lance.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Councilman Schmidt?
No.
All right, Gal?
Yes.
Aber?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All right.
Ms. Trammell?
Oh, Jay Howard, better known as James here, James Howard.
I'll second that.
Oh, now he's an adult? All right, I have a motion and a second. Councilwoman Trammell?
Yes.
Dustin?
Yes.
Bagby?
Yes.
Guile?
I'm sorry, I was responding.
Howard? Jay Howard?
Yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
No.
Oh, all right, ayes have it, so moved.
Now we have the local planning agency. Mr. Smith? Okay, no. Ms. Aber?
Marcy Bell, renominate her.
All right, so I have a
Marcy
nomination.
Bell.
Nomination for Marcy Bell by Councilwoman Aber. Do I have a second?
Second. We have a second?
Yes.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Councilman Schmidt?
No.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, ayes have it.
Next is the Parks and Rec Committee. I'll skip Kevin Smith.
Who's next?
Ms. Abear?
I'll nominate Autumn Wiedenheimer.
All right, I have a motion for Autumn. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Seconded by Councilwoman Tremmel. And I'll start with you as well.
Yes.
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 No.
All right, ayes have it, so moved. No, she's
No,
right there.
she's
in the
right
back.
there.
The family's there.
Oh, you're hiding behind John.
Okay. Ray, anyone else?
Mr. Destin?
Destin for Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec?
Park and Rec.
Button,
You
please.
can do Ally Stevens if you want to. I'm not doing her.
You're not gonna get her?
Or you can do Nikki Johnson, either one.
I will do Allison Stevens.
All right, we have Allison Stevens.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Councilman
Yes.
Schmidt?
No, sir.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
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 Ayes have it, so moved.
Ms. Trammell?
Nikki Johnson?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. And then Trammell, please start it off.
Yes.
Councilman
Yes.
Destin?
Yes.
Bagby?
Yes.
Guile?
Yes.
No.
I didn't ask you yet. All right.
Public Works and Safety, Ms. Abear?
John Green.
All right, I have a motion for, I almost called Captain. John Green?
Yes.
All right. Is that a second?
I did.
All right, Councilman Destin for the second. Councilwoman Trammell?
Yes.
All right. Councilman
Yes.
Destin, yes?
Yes.
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 No.
All right, ayes have it, so moved.
Mr. Destin?
All right, Jim Wood has not been put on yet? I will
has not.
nominate Jim Wood.
I'll second that.
Awesome, all right. Motion and a second for Jim Wood. I'll start with.
Yes.
Yes.
Bagby.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
All right, ayes have it, 5-1. All right, Ray.
Ms. Trammell?
Marcy Bell?
All right, I have a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, got a first and a second for MB. And Councilman Schmidt?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
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 All right, ayes have it, so moved, 5-1.
Okay, Mr. Braden's not here, so we go to the Town Center, CRA.
All right. And
Mr. Guile?
I'll nominate Corleen Ziegler.
That's my nominee.
Oh, never mind. Let me take that back. I'll let that go to Sandy Tremmel. But there's nobody else on that list that I think is worthy.
all right. Mr. Trammell?
Can I just make a statement
Please.
first? I just received a text from Mr. Jones. He says he lives in Olympus. The
Yeah.
Olympus townhouses right off of Main Street. So when I spoke to him, that's where he told me he lived, and he just texted me that that's where he lived. He does not live in the Palms.
Yeah, this has absolutely nothing to do with where he lives. It has to do with his moral
That's
character.
fine. I just was telling you that you thought he lived outside of the area, and he's
Well, that was-
texting me and said he did.
Yeah, and that was based off the application he filled out. So if he
I'm
doesn't even know
I'm
where
going
he
to
lives.
appoint Corleen Ziegler, and part of the reason I'm appointing her is she is a retired postmistress. So guess what we're going to focus on?
I will give you the contact of the postmaster, she's amazing.
Oh, she
and-
already knows her.
Awesome. We're ready to paint that sucker down. All right, so I have a motion from Corleen Ziegler.
I'll second that.
Awesome, she's big into the military as well. All right, motion and a second, Councilman Schmidt?
No, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Bagby? Desmond? Trammell? All right, ayes have it, 5-1. Does anyone else have a vacancy for Town Center CRA? Ray?
Not at the moment. I'll
Miss
work on
Abear?
that for you.
The one we have given March to come back with.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Y'all are welcome to get your own nominees, I'm telling you.
Yeah. All right, any other
Not gonna-
committees? No, sir. All right, we are done with the committee nominations. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
No, I had a pipe dream. That we were gonna do that in one.
I
Okay.
figured you would.
You
Lockwood's
need
gonna
a,
resign real fast here.
oh, Ray, you good for break? All right, there we go. Thank you, that. All right,
Next item is 4L. Item 4F are the minutes for the standing board and committees for information only unless you have any comments. Otherwise, we'll move on to announcements. 4G, the only announcement I have is regarding the Community Development Director. As you recall, at the last meeting, you appointed Mr. Lewis as the new Community Development Director. Due to some circumstances beyond his control, he was not able to report to duty today. So we have extended his report date to January 21st with some conditions that we'll cover with him. And we'll bring you back a report at that meeting on the 21st as to what the status of that is.
Are we going to be, for the safety of, not for the safety, but are we able to also advertise just in case?
Yes,
if
sir.
anything happens?
Apologies, I forgot to mention that, but we will post the job and moving forward, and we'll know better in 2 weeks how it's going to work out.
All right. And other than that, Dr. Young?
Yeah, HR pushed out our online employee satisfaction survey today for all staff, and that'll help us see what we're doing well, and of course, some areas that we need to improve upon. And that survey is open for staff through January 20th. Our next council meeting will be January 21st. Please note that is a Tuesday, as the Monday, day before, city offices will be closed for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And lastly, the special primary election will take place Tuesday, January 28th to fill a vacancy for the 1st Congressional District vacated by Representative Gates. From the city building end, we'll have voting at the Community Center and also City Hall on that day, the 28th, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And early voting will begin Saturday, January 18th and run through Saturday, January 25th. Early voting from the city end is only going to be at the Community Center, and those hours will be 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we'll push out this information on our website and on Facebook as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does the supervisor of elections rent that from us when they do that? Or is it like state statute that we have to let them do it?
They send us a check. Yes. There's also a state statute that says we have to let them do it.
Both. All right, I appreciate that. All right, we're through the city manager's report, on to public hearings.
If it's okay with the city council, I'll read the two ordinances together since they're related.
Perfect.
So this is ordinance number 2420 LC, an ordinance of the city of Destin, Florida, amending Article 2 Administration and Article 20 Building Regulations of the Land Development Code to remove provisions related to construction permits, building permits, inspections, certificates of occupancy, and fire district reviews from the Land Development Code, providing for a fiscal impact statement, providing for findings of fact, providing for incorporation into the city land development code, providing for conflicting provisions, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. This is also ordinance number 2421 CC, an ordinance of the city of Destin, Florida, amending Chapter 6 of the Code of Ordinances, Buildings and Building Regulations to address construction permits, building permits, inspections, certificates of occupancy, and fire district reviews within the Code of Ordinances, providing for findings of fact, providing for incorporation into the City Code of Ordinances, providing for a fiscal impact statement, providing for conflicting provisions, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. This is second reading of both ordinances, and as you know, we are taking out certain provisions of the building code from the LDC and putting them into the Code of Ordinances. It's provisions of the LDC that relate to building permitting and everything we discussed at the last meeting. If you have any questions, let us know.
All right, seeing this is a public hearing, this is your time to voice your topics. If you would wish to speak, this is your time to do so. Do we have anyone from the audience that would wish to speak on 5A or B? All right. Seeing none, I will close the public comments on both public hearing and entertain a motion or discussion. Councilwoman Trammell.
I just have a question first. Do we need to adopt these separately, or?
Yes, please do two motions.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'll make the first motion. I move that the city council adopt ordinance 2420-LC on second reading.
All right, I have a motion. Do I hear a second? I'll second. Second by Councilwoman Hebert. Any discussions on 5A? Seeing none, We'll call the vote. All right, ayes have it, so moved. Do I hear a motion for 5B?
Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Thank you,
I
ma'am.
move that the city council adopt ordinance 24-21-CC on second reading.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Do I hear any further discussions? On this, does this also pertain, and I'm sorry for not talking to you guys about this earlier, I can discuss after. Does this also get into the details of like turning radius for the trucks and is implementing into our transportation?
No,
This is all building.
no, this has to do with permitting,
Okay,
inspections, fire district reviews,
sorry, okay.
and those kind of,
Okay, I saw the fire district review and just wanted
Okay.
to make sure. All right, that's all I had.
it's more process than substance.
Perfect. All right, seeing no further discussions, I will call the vote. All right, ayes have it, so moved. All right. And we will go down. Moving right along to council. Councilman Trammell, anything tonight?
Nothing tonight.
All right, Councilman Destin,
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Councilman Bagby,
Nothing tonight, Mayor,
Councilmember.
other than Happy New Year to everybody.
Council Member Abear.
Nothing tonight, but yes, Happy New Year, everybody.
All right, project status update, Councilman Guile.
Not tonight.
Oh, darn it, I was looking forward to that. Councilman Schmidt.
Thank you, sir. I do have a few things. First, a recap from the December TDC meeting that I attended. I'm not yet officially sworn in until the Board of County Commissioners vote for me. So we'll see if they approve that here soon. But a few things. The interlocal for the Crosstown Connector was agreed upon and recommended, so we should be getting that. The dredge, up to $400,000 for the dredge support interlocal was also approved. And then one of the big items that was discussed that day was the SS United States, in case you haven't been following, is the big ship that will be coming down to be an artificial reef. They gave a good presentation and an update on some statuses and some misinformation that's possibly been out there. And so just to recap a few things, it still is stuck where it's up just due to delays from the Coast Guard and other things. They have been able to start working on the repairs and upgrades and all the stuff that was going to be done when it moved. So the contractor is actually there doing it, so it's not going to cause any delays, they're saying. There's also been some information about fees and penalties and et cetera, and yes, some of that has occurred, but they're still under their overall budget because they've kind of considered all that this entire time. So financially, they're still under budget. They still say it's going to be on time and the deployment and all that. So that was that. Any questions? We good there? Yes, sir.
Did y'all, the three options, because I know the closer to the Oriskany is one of those, did they
For
decide
deployment?
on which place they're going to drop it?
No, that wasn't, yeah, it wasn't brought up at all. But I'll ask about that the next one then. Larry, I apologize. Mr. Jones, did we send out the park master plan? Are we under contract for that? Or do we have that?
I think the contract is under review.
Park master plan?
Are you looking at that?
So we have a park master plan. It's going to be a big thing that we sent out for bid or?
There was an RFB that came before council for that.
Does that mean it's up on the streets?
Yeah,
So could you follow up
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
and let us know where that is maybe? That'd be good, if you don't mind. Do we have, I'm sorry, Miss Lisa, I know you're hoarse, so if you can't answer, it's okay. But the playground, is there any update, delay, still looking around the springtime? People,
Yes, springtime, and we're getting, it's being delivered.
being delivered, all right?
Yes, we are
Fantastic.
getting things delivered. I don't know what happened to my voice.
Jeff, do we have any update on the funding, Triumph funding? Triumph funding for Morgan Sports Complex? Did we get anywhere with that?
No, if I haven't turned in an application, if council would direct me to do so, I can work on that.
Weren't y'all working on that? You and him, or?
Not for Morgan specifically. We were just going through and trying to get some third parties to come to the table, because one of the biggest hurdles at this point is Triumph doesn't want to be the largest contributor. So we were just trying to put out toucher feelers for things that I was going after, which is a little bit more ecology, water quality, and stuff of that nature.
Didn't Triumph actually tell us they want us to ask for money for Morgan Sports Complex, and we were meeting with them, or gonna do that?
Is this Ron, the TDC?
No, no, not Ron. This is the Triumph people. I think they told us specifically that we need to ask for money, and that y'all were gonna be meeting with them, a couple meetings.
We've had some meetings to discuss potential projects for Triumph funding. I don't think they've directly told us to apply for Morgan Sports Center.
Kim, did anybody speak to us, city attorneys, to go apply for Triumph funding for Morgan Sports Complex?
Not that I'm aware of.
I think that was
Not to me.
TDC. I think that was our,
Okay.
Yeah, just as a general rule, the Triumph grants usually come with the requirements for job creation. So you have to also prove that you're giving jobs that are more than 55% of the
Okay,
median
well, I'll follow up
income
with
and so forth,
the
so-
person that I said they spoke to, city staff, so I'll follow up on that one and let you guys know. That's it, sir. Thank you very much.
Kevin, I have the park master plan for review now, so that's where it's at. It's in legal, okay?
The bid is, or
No,
the
it was,
RFP is, or what?
the park master plan contract
That
was
somebody that
already
we agreed-
reviewed by Kyle, and they sent it to me just to re-review. So it is now with me. And you'll have it soon.
I mean, I'm not trying to be lighthearted here, but it's, those are things that we've been waiting on for a long time, so that's why I'm asking about it.
all right. All right, I have nothing tonight. City Attorney, take it away.
Okay, I have a few things. Number one, the city manager contract. So, as you know, this contract is for an independent contractor relationship. So Mr. Larry Jones would not be an employee of the city. He would receive an annual amount as set forth in the agenda item. That would be just salary. He would forego any benefits. So he took the total compensation in that way instead of receiving health insurance, dental, car allowance, none of that. If you have any questions about it, let me know, but I think we've talked to all of you about it at this point, so just need to vote. Keep in mind, the charter requires a 70% approval.
All right, do I hear a
Motion to approve the contract is presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussions? All right, seeing none, I'll call the vote. All right, ayes have it unanimously. Congratulations, welcome aboard officially.
Thank you. Thank you for your confidence. Look forward to.
Welcome to the
doing good
team,
things.
Larry.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is a proposed settlement between the City of Destin, private defendants, and the Destin Fishing Fleet. Councilmember Destin will be abstaining for this discussion and vote, correct, Councilmember Destin?
Correct.
Okay. I think I've discussed this with all of you as well, so if you would just like to vote yes or no, that would be great.
All right, Councilwoman Trammell.
Do you want a motion first, or do you want us to vote yes or no?
A motion and a vote, please.
I move that we accept the mediated settlement agreement.
All right, I have a motion, seconded by Councilwoman Abear. Any further discussions? I'm glad we're getting one more court case off the books, Destin v. Destin, in some way, shape, or form. All right, we'll call the vote. Uh-oh. All right, ayes have it 4-1 with Councilman Destin abstaining, as stated earlier. All right, thank you for that. Motion passes.
the city manager's permanent contract. So this would give him the authority to sign as city manager.
All right, do I have a motion for,
I'll make the motion that
Resolution.
we accept Resolution 24-01.
all right, do I have a second? All right, second by Councilman Destin. And seeing no further discussions, we'll call the vote.
Just for clarity, 2501 for the record.
2501, oh, thank you for that. All right, ayes have it, so moved unanimously. All right, thank you, City Attorney. Anything else?
That's all, thank you.
All right, good deal. All right, second bite at the apple for any public comments. How do we do?
Carrie Harbarger, Mountain Drive. So I'm hoping that before our season starts, that we start addressing our code compliance department now. Where is our code compliance? Who is in charge now? Does anybody know? And I ask this because I had a great meeting with Mr. Jones, and he assured us that he was going to do everything in his power to make sure that he had the help to keep the illegal activities off the beach. Why? Because it is the main priority of this community. The businesses are number one. That's not really what he said. He told me that life's not fair. Are you serious? This would be the third season I've been fighting illegal carts on the beach and businesses on the beach. Guys, we have to get it under control. We get this 100 days of summer, and what a lot of people, if you're not born and raised here and you didn't do this, you don't get it. We have 100 days to pay 12 months worth of bills, and when we allow illegal businesses to come here and cream our local businesses, it's not good. You have to remember, we invest in brick and mortar. We pay the high insurance bills. It is our duty to protect the businesses in this community, guys. Enough is enough. Everybody knows that everybody flees to Destin to make that quick cash. Well, it's happened, and now it's happened to a degree where we've got a lot of us fussing and fighting, and there's more fussing and fighting coming. We have to stop the illegal businesses. We have to give more to the cause, Mr. Jones. I can appreciate welcome aboard, but I'm not stopping and I'm not going away. We have to stop the illegal businesses. We have to do everything in our power. It's not fair to the locals who invest in this community. And you wonder why people don't want to sit on committees? Because we have some issues in this community that need to be addressed that a lot of these locals aren't happy with. They don't feel like their voices are heard. And when you're told that life isn't fair, yeah, life is not fair. But I can tell you what needs to be fair is our government needs to work for us. You work for the Destin people. We don't work for the illegal operation that came from Mandeville, Louisiana, and cashed in and made over $750,000 off our beach. That's not who we work for. So I'm asking this council to ensure the local businesses in this community that we have the protection against the illegal operations that are coming here to pull the cash off our beaches. I've had enough. Thank you for hearing me, and any input I would appreciate. Let's have this conversation. Let's just have the conversation, because I've been sitting here all evening and I don't feel like, listening to people participate. Well, I hate to tell you something, but there is retribution when people participate and speak their mind. And that needs to not be, that's why you're having a hard time getting people volunteering for your committees and stuff, guys, because we're not acting right. We're not acting right to our people, and we're not acting right to our businesses. No, life is not fair. But there's one thing I can guarantee. I invest in this community. I buy buildings, I buy property, I own 4 homes and a commercial property. What's fair? We have to define that, guys, because in 6 weeks, every business from Louisiana to Texas to God knows where's on their way. I know one that's coming. They're looking for housing. They're bringing 11 carts to sell their ice cream on the beach again. It's not happening. So, guys, we have to address these issues of the illegal businesses coming to this community. It's getting dreadful. It's got a lot of us fighting. Any questions? Anybody have questions?
Thank you for being here. Can you talk to her after? Okay, go ahead.
No, look, Carrie is the canary in the coal mine here. And I don't know if our TDC got their numbers, but I got the November collection numbers. The way the TDC collection is, the bed tax paid during November is collected during December and is reported on the 1st of January. So let me give you the November numbers for Walton County. They are down 39.08% in bed tax collections for November. So that's Thanksgiving, that's the weeks in November. We are probably headed to a down or maybe a settling, off our highs where we were the only thing open during COVID, then we weren't the only thing open, and now we're, a known and people don't like what's going on our beaches necessarily, or that we have private beaches in this part of the state, or a whole host of other reasons. And there are other things, other factors in this, but it's going to get harder. It's going to get harder for property owners. It's going to get harder for businesses. And we need to make sure that we're protecting our businesses, our business owners, and our homeowners in this community, because they're going to be very stressed when people buy houses thinking they're going to be able to rent it 48 weeks out of the year. They're going to stay in it 4, and they find out they can only rent it 3 weeks during spring break and 10 weeks during the summer. It's going to be, so I would agree with her that our code enforcement, our sheriff's office, we need to support those businesses and enforce our rules and make sure we're supporting our owners, our residents, and our businesses.
All right, Councilman Destin.
And I would echo that sentiment as far as the vending on the beach. We have an ordinance that prohibits that, is my understanding. If we don't enforce that ordinance, then it makes a mockery of what we do. And I have every faith that our city manager will take the steps necessary to make that a priority. And as we get closer to the spring, we're gonna have to figure out how to get that under control. Or say it's okay, everybody can vend, one or the other.
Yep.
But we have to, we've got till March, and we need to make some plans. And, I won't make a motion tonight because I have faith that he will go forward with a plan to make sure that the ordinances that we pass are enforced in a stringent manner.
Councilman Guy, thank you.
Did he make a motion?
No.
Oh.
No, not tonight.
Not tonight.
I'll give the manager an opportunity first.
All right. I have a question. What's the first step if they're found vending on the beach? What's the first disciplinary
Any
action?
code violation by statute requires a warning, and then you can cite them either through a violation, notice of violation,
Or a citation.
or a citation.
But staff usually does citations on the beach.
Okay, so we have to give the warning first, then after that, is there a limit to what we can cite? Is there a dollar amount or a fee amount?
Yeah, there's limits in the statute.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a
But they
max.
get cited to the maximum that they can cite them.
All right, so first warning, second absolute citing, and that's the way we're going to move forward this summer, in the spring? All right, that's all I want clarity for. Thank you.
How do we catch them? Do we need to catch them in the act? Do we need video coverage?
So
What-
that's an evidence question,
Yes.
but, if we catch them in the act, that's great evidence. If somebody submits a video, they would need to verify and authenticate it. But usually code enforcement, code compliance staff is out there and sees them themselves and goes up to them and talks to them, and if it's past the warning stage, gives them a citation.
Yeah, I was just thinking from the standpoint of what we're doing at Joe's as far as a live cam to kind of be recreational / a tool in our toolbox. If we have public beach accesses and there's Wi-Fi, if we can put up webcams, act them both as a city asset for online viewership as well as a documentation tool for any illegal activity, that would just be something that came to my mind. Councilwoman Hebert?
Let me clarify one thing real quick.
Yeah,
if you
go
don't
ahead.
mind. It's still part of this. So when you say they get a warning, that's per company, not per person, right? Not per employee?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, Councilwoman Hebert?
Well, kind of on the same line of what Tori was saying, because I was on the Crystal Beach, not Crystal Beach, but on Holiday Isle Beach when those wheeled vehicles with ice cream were rolling past and had called code. And this was last summer before you took over. So it's going to be real easy to catch these guys because it's not like they can run real fast with these big wagons that have these wheels. So Carrie's not kidding. They are coming, and we just need to stop them in the beginning and make it very expensive for them.
Yep, I agree. Councilman Destin.
One comment, and we have all other alternatives. If your fine is $500 a day and you're selling $5,000 worth of product, but we can also go to the circuit court and have a court order that says do not go on the beach. And then if you go on the beach, you're in contempt of court and you get to take your toothbrush and go to Crestview. That's the most effective thing. It costs money. You have to go to court, but that is our final alternative is if they can't follow the rules, they get to go to jail.
I'll just say I would need council directive to go that route because it would be starting litigation, but if council desires to go that route next summer, we can certainly give me that direction. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Spring break, anytime of year.
Okay, fair enough. All right, lively discussion. Not seeing anything else. We've done public comments and meeting adjourned.